began to walk, descending into the town. For a bit, neither of them spoke. Then Judith sighed. "Well," she said in final tones, "that's it. Must feel a bit funny, knowing you're not coming back again." "Yes, it does. But the funniest bit is feeling sad. I never thought I'd feel sad to leave any school, but I do now." "It's not going to be the same without you." "It's not going to be the same without you either. But you're lucky, because at least you've still got Elaine and Christine for friends. I've got to start all over, brand new, trying to find someone I like at St Ursula's. And I have to wear that uniform." Heather's silence was sympathetic. The uniform was almost the worst of all. At Porthcaris, everybody wore their own clothes, and very cheerful they looked too, in different-coloured sweaters, and the girls with bright ribbons in their hair. But St Ursula's was a private school, and archaically old-fashioned. The girls wore dark green tweed overcoats and thick brown stockings, and dark green hats that were guaranteed to make even the prettiest totally plain, so unbecoming were they. St Ursula's took day girls as well as boarders, and these unfortunate creatures were much despised by Judith and Heather and their contemporaries at Porthcaris, and considered fair bait for teasing and torment, should they be unlucky enough to travel on the same bus. It was depressing to contemplate Judith having to join the ranks of those wet, goody-goody creatures who thought themselves so grand. But worst of all was the prospect of boarding. The Warrens were an intensely close family, and Heather could not imagine a worse fate than to be torn from her parents and her two older brothers, both handsome and raven-haired as their father. At Porthcaris School, they had been notorious for their devilment and wickedness, but since moving on to the county school in Penzance, had been somewhat tamed by a terrifying headmaster, and been forced to settle down to their books and mend their ways. But still, they were the best fun in the world, and it was they who had taught Heather to swim and ride a bicycle and trawl for mackerel from their stubby wooden boat. And what fun could you possibly have with nothing but girls? It didn't matter that St Ursula's was in Penzance and so only 10 miles away. 10 miles was forever, if you had to live away from Mum and Dad and Paddy and Joe. However, it seemed that poor Judith had no choice. Her father worked in Colombo, in Ceylon, and for 4 years Judith, her mother, and her little sister had lived apart from him. Now Mrs. Dunbar and Jess were returning to Ceylon, and Judith was being left behind, with little idea of when she would see her mother again. But it was, as Mrs. Warren was wont to remark, no good crying over spilt milk. Heather cast about for something cheerful to say. "There'll be holidays with Aunt Louise." "Oh, come on, don't be so down in the dumps. At least you'll still be here, living in Penmarron. Just think your aunt might live somewhere awful, up country or in some town, and you wouldn't know anybody. As it is, we can go on seeing each other. You can come over and we'll go down the beach, or go to the pictures." "Are you sure?" Heather was perplexed. "Sure about what?" "Well, I mean, sure you're going to want to go on seeing me and being my friend, going to St Ursula's and everything. You won't think I'm snobby and horrible." "Oh, you!" Heather gave her a loving thump over the bottom with her boot bag. "What do you think I am?" "It would be a sort of escape." "You make it sound like going to prison." "You know what I mean." "What's your aunt's house like?" "It's quite big, and it's right up at the top of the golf course, and it's full of brass trays and tiger skins and elephants' feet." "Elephants' feet? My dear life, what does she use them for?" "An umbrella stand." "I wouldn't like that, but I suppose you won't have to look at it much. Got your own room, have you?" "Yes, I've got a room. It was her best spare room, and it's got its own wash basin, and there's room for my desk." "Sounds all right to me. Don't know what you're making such a fuss about." "I'm not making